Hi, it's Katie with Empowering Astrology, and this is your look at the astrology of December 30th, 2019, all the way to January 5th, 2020. Yes, we are at the end of 2019, and we're not just at the end of 2019, we're also at the end of a decade. So, what a decade it's been. And I think it's really important as we go into 2020 to really appreciate the astrology and, let's say, the very unique astrology that we've been through the last decade, because something that I've been talking about maybe more in my client sessions than perhaps here on my Facebook Lives is that we are in a time where everything has to change, and how we live our lives and how we express ourselves. And the more that we, the more work that we do, the more that hopefully we're getting into alignment with really the truth of who we are. And the astrology is really in support of that. In fact, it's really kind of kicking our butts, and it has been kicking our butts over the last 10 years. And all you have to do is go back and look at the life that you were living at the beginning of 2010 and look at the life that you're living now. And maybe in some respects, and it could be you're radically different, or a relationship is radically different, or who your confidence and your talents are coming out more. I mean, I can to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, and I know I said this in the last Facebook Live that I did, but I started Empowering Astrology in January 2010. So Empowering Astrology is almost 10 years old. Now, I wasn't seeing clients right away. In fact, when I first put myself out there, my name was nowhere on my work. And funny enough, I was talking to a client a couple days ago. She's like, "What's your name? I just think of you as the Empowering Astrology lady." And it was like a little bit of a reminder here in 2019 that I need to put my name out there more. So for those who are joining me for the first time, my name is Katie Sweetman. I am an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York, and I use Empowering Astrology as my platform, as well as a tool to help you all discover how to live your best life, because the astrology is telling us that we're in a time of change. Okay, well, how do we best use that for our personal growth, our personal transformation? Before I got on this live, I was with a client of mine, somebody I've been speaking with the past few years, and she's a totally different person, but in the best way. And so it kind of shows that when we're really allowing this astrology to do its work, that we can really be in the highest potential of who we are. That's what that's what I believe about astrology. So I use it as a tool. I use it as a tool in my personal life. I help to, guide my clients to use it as a tool in their own life. So here we are, we're at the end of a decade, a decade that, for those who maybe pay attention a little bit to astrology, we've had Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. So pretty much, the whole decade has been Pluto in Capricorn. So, and in fact, I've been writing about this, and I've been talking about this with my clients lately. For us to really understand some of the astrology of right now, we need to really follow those threads back to 2008, and maybe a story that opened that when we have the the perspective of time, and we can look back and, oh my gosh, like that's when something started to shift. So for me, I remember 2008 was when I realized I wanted to use astrology. It might have been 2009, but very close, when I wanted to use astrology, not just in my own life, but to help others with. So a story opened up for me, and that's something that's been playing out for me over the decades. So I know that for many of you, it's been maybe a tough 10 years, but I really do hope that something beautiful has come out of this time, because it certainly has been a tough 10 years for me too. But what's come out of this time is that I've got a chance to talk to you all, to meet some of you all, to work with some of you all in person. I see some familiar faces on the live feed. Some of you are my clients. Some of you I've known for some time. So hello Hello, Leslie. Hello, Carissa. Hello, Brenda. Hi, Kay. Hi, Bonnie. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Yeah, I just wanted to take this kind of like quick look back at the 2010s when we had some really intense astrology in the form of the Uranus-Pluto square. So if you are, for my Cancers watching, my Aries watching, my Libras watching, my Capricorns watching, your lives are probably very different. So let's, take that and put in the back of our heads as we go into the new year and we kind of wrap things up with 2019. I think that the 2019 has been getting us ready for 2020 in a way. And with these eclipses that we've been having, we had eclipses last January, we had eclipses in July, we had an eclipse on the 26th of December. And as we get ready for the next eclipse on January 10th of 2020, it's just a reminder that this is a time with the North Node in Cancer that we really have to move towards what feeds and nurtures us, because Cancer as a sign is what we're bringing in. It's the North Node. And what does Cancer want? It wants closeness, it wants connection, it wants to feel safe. And I think that on the opposite side of things, where the South Node is, we've got presently 5 planets in Capricorn. That's a lot of planets in Capricorn. The good side of Capricorn is that we can really use this energy to build, to create new structures, to have new initiatives, new ambitions. But we also have to look at the other side of Saturn and Capricorn and all these planets, where what's holding us back, what's limiting us, what are our fears. So I think that it's really important to know that every sign in astrology has a, let's say, a high side and a low side, a light and a shadow. It's not to kind of, let's say, put some sort of value judgment on it, but let's say one side of the sign can create and one side of the sign can pull down. And Capricorn, all this Capricorn energy, it can really kick up some fears because that's what's in the shadow side of Capricorn. Do we have enough? Can we make it? Will we be supported? And I think that as we go into January, we have to kind of sit with our fears. I think it's a very human thing. We have to examine them. And that's actually a question that often comes up from, my own guides when I'm working with somebody. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? Because sometimes you have to name something to kind of to take away the power in a way. It's not this kind of thing that's hanging out in the back of your mind. So just as you go into the new year, I think it's a really important, something that we can do. And I talked about this in one of my updates last week. Journal. Write down what's happening right now. Write down your fears, your thoughts, your emotions, because we're going to revisit this time again with the next round of eclipses. Because in July and the end of June of 2020, we're closing out this whole story that began in July of 2018 that talks about that we are this time where we need more Cancer. We need to kind of get our lives in alignment with what really feeds and nurtures us. And so whatever story began in July of 2018 and even January of 2019 is starting to come to a close in the middle of 2020. So it's always good to go back and kind of see what you were writing down, what sort of threads or themes are there, so you can have a new awareness of what time it is in your life. So I think that this week it's important to know that we are between the eclipses. So we had that solar eclipse, Capricorn new moon on December 26th. So we're still in that sort of pregnant vortex of energy between the eclipses. So that means, and this is an analogy that I've been using a lot with this lives or with my clients or my writing, that it's as if the stage of our life is preparing for the next act. So right now we've had the solar eclipse, the curtain has come down, the curtain's starting to come up on a very new scene. So for some of you, you might be seeing, sort of the set piece of your life, the characters in your life start to rearrange. That's what eclipses does. They announce a new time in our life. And this time over the next 6 months is very much about Capricorn. It's very much about the ambitions that we have, the responsibilities that we have, the roles that we play, the structures that support our lives. And we might need to, let's say, tear down some old structures, clear some space so that something new can come in. We're kind of rebuilding over the next 6 months. And I feel like with all this Capricorn energy, I've been working like crazy. By the way, my horoscopes for January, please forgive me, they're gonna be super late because I've just been working nonstop and I have like barely had time to like eat in between working. So that's an aside. So this week, mainly the big thing for this week is Mars going into Capricorn, Mars going into Sagittarius. So if you remember, Mars has been in Scorpio since November 19th, a sign that Mars is right at home in. So for my Aries listening, my Scorpios listening, like this has been a time where it's about taking action. Your Mars is strengthened in your life. And so for the rest of us, that's kind of activated a certain part of our life and our chart, depending on where Scorpio is. Now, when Mars goes into Sagittarius on January 3rd, so I believe that's Thursday, if I remember correctly, or Friday. So this is a time when over the next 6 weeks, because Mars will be in Sagittarius for 6 weeks until February 16th. So over the next 6 weeks, we are feeling very inspired to travel, to explore. Mars, and I have Mars in Sagittarius, it's a sign, Sagittarius is a sign that teaches us about the world. It teaches us to get an education, to value an education, to value travel, maybe even foreign travel. So this is a time when we are really traveling and exploring. I'm going to be traveling a bit in January, so that's like my Mars return. There you go. But maybe some of you are kind of looking out towards the world, and there's this idea that Sagittarius as a sign talks about, what do we believe in? What's our faith? What's our truth? So there's a sense of like needing to express what we believe in over the next 6 weeks. Mars in Sagittarius can have a little bit of opinion, just FYI. I know this from personal experience, but this idea that, on the highest side of things, Mars in Sagittarius is really kind of talking about what its philosophy is and sharing what its philosophy is. And, this is what I do every day with Empowering Astrology. I talk about how we can use astrology in a certain way, in a hopefully beneficial and positive way, but it doesn't, we still have to do the work, of course. And that's what I get to talk about with you all on these lives or with my clients or in the writing that I do. So this is this idea that you all in your own way, what's your philosophy? What do you believe in? What kind of informs the way you see life, it sees the world? So Mars is going to really activate that over the coming 6 weeks. And because Sagittarius is, let's say, this is a technical point, the 12th house of Capricorn, we are doing a little bit of inner work and soul searching and existential questioning while Mars is in Sagittarius. So it's a great time over the next few weeks, especially with all this eclipse energy, to do some meditation, to do some inner work and to hear, kind of find those truths within, because the idea that the 12th house tells us that the truths are not necessarily in a book or in a religion or an ideology, that they are truths that we have to find within that are particular to ourselves. So, but that said, I want you to be really aware that as we, the new year starts on, what was it, Wednesday. So we're a couple days away from 2020. And the way that I've been framing 2020 for everybody, at least in my client work, is that since 2018, Saturn has been in Capricorn. So we've had to really hustle, like get our acts together. We've had to set boundaries. We'd have to be very aware of accountability. And do keep in mind that accountability is going to be a continued keyword for 2020. Now, Saturn is going to get to the end of Capricorn in March of 2020. And as it does so, it's going to give everybody a report card. Me, you, everybody. How are you doing on your Capricorn lessons? How are you doing with setting boundaries, setting goals, saying no to people? Capricorn and Saturn loves to say no. Sometimes we have to say no because we've been saying yes too much. We have to honor time. We have to honor our commitments. And if we have been, let's say, falling short a little bit, Saturn's going to let us know. And the idea, here's the thing, Saturn just wants the best for us. It has a job. It has a function. Saturn is here to make sure that the life that we designed when we came into this life, the things that we planned, the things that we wanted to achieve, that we stuck to that plan. So Saturn's kind of like, all right, great. You said you'd do this. I'm going to help make sure you make that happen. If you wanted to learn all about relationships, then Saturn's really going to give you the workout in relationships in this life. So pay attention as you go into, let's say, the new year and into March. Like, what sort of feedback are you getting? Because Saturn's going to dip into Aquarius in March 21st of 2020. And we're going to get a little sneak preview of this new time in our life. You know, for those who, the analogy that I can give you, it's like we're following the hands on the clock. Saturn's been pointing towards Capricorn since the beginning of 2018. And then starting in March of 2020, it's going to start to point towards Aquarius. So we're going to have a new time in our life, but we're only going to get like a little bit of a preview because Saturn's going to go into Aquarius just for 3 months. And it's going to make what's called a retrograde out and then back into Capricorn in July. So in 2020, we're kind of straddling these two big stories. So what I want to kind of impress upon you as we go into January, we got to do our homework. We got to eat our vegetables. We got to make sure we're going to bed and like showing up where we need to show up because we're under a lot of Saturn pressure right now. And if you missed my new moon report on the solar eclipse, I did include it in the show notes. So go back and read it. In addition, I have a link to something called Saturn and Capricorn side by side. It's kind of this look at where Saturn is activating depending on your sun sign and your rising sign. So if you're like, oh my God, what part of my life is getting activated by all this Saturn energy, that's going to kind of give you that part of your life, at least the key words for that part of your life. So going into the new year what you have to work on. Because here's the thing, Capricorn season is perfect for setting goals, setting resolutions, this idea that when we say we're going to do something, we got this energy of Saturn to really kind of fix it and make sure it happens. So really set some good goals as you're going into 2020. Also, because Saturn is going to make a rare meetup with Pluto on January 12th, there's the possibility that we can really use this energy to break through really old barriers, old stories, old narratives, that have been really holding us back. I had a client earlier today. I'm probably gonna listen to this live feed, and we were talking about her life and how the big changes that she's making, and she's kind of realized, and the astrology is supporting that the sort of the life that she's been living and how she's been kind of positioning herself in her life, it's not sustainable anymore. So we are all, and I think she is as well, like hopefully using this energy to kind of put the past in the past, to say, you know, the limited view of ourselves, and let's say how we've been trying to force ourselves into certain paths or roles or positions that don't really match us anymore. This is your time in 2020 to really step out of these old roles, because I think Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn, and I'm going to use a plug for the doing this astrology summit that all the talks are releasing on January 1st. So if you haven't RSVP'd for my talk, which you get for free, I'm doing a talk on Saturn and Pluto, which I have lovingly called the Wrecking Ball, which I think is actually a good thing, because sometimes, you know, we need that extra oomph to clear through these old fears. And like I said, you know, the shadow side of Capricorn does talk about fear and limitation. Every sign has a shadow. I'm not just picking on Capricorn. So this is a time when we can really use that wrecking ball energy to really clear through some old patterns, some old fears, some old limitations, because we need to. It's time. Astrology just tells us what time it is. So go to my show links. It's astrostyle.com/Katie. You have one day to still RSVP to get it for free. I feel really good about the talk, and I hope you feel good about it too. And there's going to be some interesting bonus materials for those who sign up. Somebody commented on, oh, thank you, Judy. This necklace is actually a necklace that was made by a really good friend of mine here in New York. She's a jewelry designer. Her name is Iman. But this is my, let's say, festive, sparkly, holiday, end of the year necklace, courtesy of my very good friend. But yeah, big times for everybody. You can even watch the video I did previous to this one. It does talk a little bit about that eclipse energy and how that eclipse energy might be activating each sign. That said, and I'm a human being too, and I'm kind of living through this astrology as well, and I'm kind of sitting and watching with what's coming up right now. And it always seems that every time I try to take a step forward on my path, that you always manifest those people that are telling you you're doing a terrible job. It's not true. They're just a manifestation of your fears and insecurities. And like I said, I'm a human too, and I just feel like this eclipse energy, it's got some Chiron as well. And you have let's say a session with somebody, and they just do not get what you do, and you're like, am I doing something wrong? And then you realize, like, I'm not. They're not fully understanding what I am doing, and maybe I need to articulate more what I do. But empowering astrology is just astrology plus consciousness. So the chart is energy. It's like a car. It tells me the car that you're driving, but it doesn't tell me about the passenger. So I need to understand how you are living your astrology. What's getting in the way of you kind of using this vehicle for your highest potential. So my work is, let's say, a little different than most astrologers, but it's got a little bit of a coaching element, but I want to dig and help you uncover what's in your way. So if you haven't had a chance to work with me, please go to empoweringastrology.com booking. I would love to work with you in the new year and help you, let's say, get ready for this energy that we're having in 2020. Saturn's going into Aquarius, but we are starting the year off with five planets in Capricorn. That's quite an unusual amount of planets in Capricorn, especially since 3 of them are what are called outer planets. So we are building new things in the new year. We are working hard. It's all about our goals, our future, our structures, but we have to be very real and to see what goals and structures no longer support us. And do keep in mind the North Node is still in Cancer. We have to make sure we are making time for what's important, our heart, our needs. So really making sure that you are connecting with people, that you are saying what you need. So this eclipse that's coming up, I'll just do a very quick run around the zodiac so you know what area of your life is going to start to need your attention over the next few days and going into the next week. So this, for Aries, this is the part of your chart that talks about home and family. So over the next few days and into the next week, you might be needing to make sure you're getting your emotional needs met. And this even might be a time when you're thinking about moving or making changes in the home. Taurus, this upcoming eclipse is activating the part of your chart that talks about voice, communication, learning, and how you think and how you learn. So this coming eclipse might really highlight a need for more education in your life, more information, more travel, but also highlighting how you communicate in general, and also in how the choices that you make. So choice might be a really important factor of this eclipse. Going into what's after Taurus, Gemini. So this is highlighting the part of your chart that talks about money and how you earn it, how you spend it, how you accumulate it, the things that you own, the things that you need. So this might be a time when you're really focused on your material life, Gemini, and also how you earn a living. Sometimes an eclipse to this part of your chart can talk to a little bit of a change in how you earn a living. So you might see some changes. Hopefully these are good changes for you. Cancer. So this is putting you in the spotlight. This full moon is in Cancer. So this is a big time for you, and a time when the next 6 months might put you in the spotlight or kind of send your life into a different direction in some way. Leo, this is the part of the chart that talks about your inner work, your spirituality, your spiritual connection, and also needing to let go of the past and baggage. So this eclipse might be asking you to really let go of some old past, some patterns, some memories, especially anything around family. Virgo, this is the part of your chart that talks about community, friendships, and this is a time when you might need the spotlight is on the people in your life. So you might be really trying to reach out and make new friends and spend some time in your community. Libra, this is the part of your chart that talks about career, it talks about your ambitions, it talks about your direction. So you might see a job change, or you might hear about a promotion or something that sort of changes your trajectory a little bit, Libra. Scorpio, this is the part of your chart that talks about foreign travel and education. So it might be a natural time when you have your bags packed and you're going towards maybe exploring a different country. I know I am. Or you are, let's say, focusing on education. So the next, let's say, January might be a lot of study or a need to really kind of express what your wisdom is, and I'm sure you have a lot of it, Scorpio. Going into Sagittarius, this is the part of your chart that talks about some really deep emotional stuff. So this eclipse might kind of actually bring some stuff to the surface. It might bring some stuff to the surface for you to let it go. This eclipse is highlighting vulnerability and needing to do that deep inner work. And also that it might bring up some stuff around money. Capricorn, this is the part of your chart that talks about relationships. So you might have a decision to make about a serious relationship, or you might be entering a time when you are letting a serious relationship in. I know Capricorn, you're kind of under the gun at the moment, so the more that you can kind of have people around you and support you, the better. Aquarius, this is the time in your life that the spotlight is on health and wellness. This is an eclipse where you really need to make some decisions on how you take care of your body, how you manage your health, diet, fitness, nutrition. So this is a time to really kind of make sure your body is getting what it needs. Moving on to Pisces, last but not least, this is an eclipse where you are in the spotlight in a way. This is a time for you to put your talents out there, for people to kind of really see you and for you to be able to express who you are. These are themes around identity and creativity and self-expression. Also children, Pisces, this part of your chart does talk about children. If this is relevant for you, the children might be in your future with this eclipse. So that was just a quick run around the zodiac. I just want to kind of put some things on your radar for this upcoming eclipse that is on January 10th. More information as we get closer to that date. I will write a full moon report. We will talk about this on my next Facebook Live. But just make sure that you follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook if you don't already. Empowering Astrology. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. If you want to sign up for my Astrology 2020 webinar, which I'm doing on January 7th, if you want to get more information about the year ahead and what this means for your sign, sign up is in the show notes. Again, I'm going to be doing this Astrology Summit starting January 1st. I would love to have you RSVP for that. It's a free talk. Well, it's free until for the next day, but then you can also get, there's going to be 24 talks in general, which I'm really excited about the roster of people. It's a really good lineup of my colleagues, both people I know here in New York and beyond. Sign up for my newsletter, book a consultation for me if you've been thinking about it. We can certainly get into your astrology more deeply for 2020. Let me just check in on the comments. Oh, thank you, Sally. I do try to make everything relatable. Diane's like, happy it's not about career. No, I mean, for Pisces, I mean, now that Jupiter is out of Sagittarius for Pisces, it's about something else. So you got something else going on, Pisces. So again, it was so great to check in with you and have this last look at 2019. I know many of you are like, thank God this year is over. I know it's been a bit of a difficult time. We've been having some challenging astrology, I'm not gonna lie, but hopefully there's been some silver linings for many of you out of this challenging astrology. So we will talk next week. It was so good to connect. You can watch if you're watching on the replay, thank you for watching on the replay. I do put this on both YouTube and Instagram on IGTV. So again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm here in New York City. I'm an astrologer and a psychic medium, and we will connect in the new year. Bye.